You've been blamed for your weight your whole life. But what if the real problem isn't what you're eating? It's what you're doing every single day that's silently killing the one system that controls whether you burn fat or store it. Let me describe a woman. See if you recognize her. She eats salads. She reads labels. She chooses diet drinks over regular. She buys the low-fat yogurt and the whole grain bread. She tries to exercise, tries to sleep, tries to manage her stress, and she's been doing all of this for years. And the scale hasn't moved, or it moved in the wrong direction. Doctors blame calories. Friends blame hormones. She's been told it's her. That's a lie. Her gut health, specifically gut bacteria diversity, decides if calories burn or store as belly fat. And after 45, estrogen decline makes those bacteria fragile. That woman has been lied to. You are not the problem. And if that sounds like you, if you're sitting there right now thinking, "That's me," drop a comment below and just say, "Me." And hit the like button so this reaches more women who need to hear it. Because I promise you, you are not alone in this. And seeing how many of us are going through the exact same thing is going to surprise you. Not by one person, not by one industry, by a system that never bothered to tell her the truth about what actually controls whether her body burns fat or stores it. Because here's what nobody explained. Inside her gut, there are trillions of bacteria, an entire ecosystem called the microbiome, and that system is the control center for her metabolism. It regulates how she absorbs calories. It produces the hormones that signal hunger and fullness. It decides, on a cellular level, whether her body burns fat or locks it away. In other words, the control center for whether she burns or stores fat is being sabotaged, and she has no idea. And after 45, that system becomes fragile. Estrogen, which has always helped maintain the diversity of those bacteria, starts to decline. That's why the diet that worked in her 30s doesn't work the same way anymore. Her metabolism isn't broken. The bacteria controlling it are under siege. And this is what makes her different from the version of herself at 30. She's not looking for a quick fix. She's done with that. She's been through the cleanses and the calorie counters and the 21-day resets. What she actually wants, and I think you know this if you're her, is to understand. She wants someone to explain why her body is responding this way. She wants the mechanism. She wants to know what's actually happening inside her, so she can make decisions that make sense, not just follow another list of rules from someone who's never lived in her body. That's what this video is. Not a meal plan, not a list of superfoods. This is the 5 forces that are systematically destroying her gut bacteria, and they're not what she expects. Some of them are things she's doing specifically because she's trying to be healthy. And I'm giving you a step you can take after each one, plus a 3-move action plan at the end you can start tonight. Let's go.
Time to get started.
This is the part that's going to make you uncomfortable, because the conflict here isn't between this woman and junk food. It's between this woman and the things she trusted. Force number 1, the antibiotic she never took. She hasn't taken antibiotics in years. She'll tell you that. But conventionally raised chicken, beef, and pork are routinely given low-dose antibiotics to promote faster growth. Those compounds don't fully break down during cooking. Every time she eats that meat, residual antibiotic compounds enter her digestive system, and they don't distinguish between harmful bacteria and the beneficial species her body depends on to burn fat. A 2021 review in Gut Microbes found that even low-level antibiotic exposure significantly reduces populations of lactobacillus and bifidobacterium, two of the species most critical for metabolic regulation in women over 45. She's not doing anything wrong. She's cooking dinner, and her gut bacteria are taking the hit, and she never agreed to that. There's a specific swap that neutralizes this, and I'll give it to you at the end, alongside the full action plan. But first, you need to see what's stacking on top of it. Force number 2, the healthy food that dissolves her gut lining. This one's worse, because she chose these foods on purpose. Emulsifiers. Not junk food, not sugar. Emulsifiers, the additives used to extend shelf life and improve texture in salad dressings, low-fat yogurts, protein bars, and whole grain breads. Labels call them carboxymethylcellulose, polysorbate 80, or lecithin. Here's what they actually do. Her gut bacteria live inside a protective mucus layer that lines the intestinal wall. Emulsifiers dissolve that layer. When it thins, bacteria that should stay contained cross into her bloodstream, triggering chronic inflammation, disrupting hormone signaling, and slowing fat metabolism. A landmark study published in Nature showed that participants consuming emulsifiers at normal daily levels developed metabolic disruption and altered gut bacteria composition within just 12 weeks. She read the label. She bought the healthy option, and it was quietly destroying the barrier her gut depends on. I'll show you exactly which 2 labels to check and what to replace them with. That's coming. But the next force is the one that caught me off guard when I first researched it. Now, before I get to the third force, I need to tell you something. The 5th one, the last one I'll cover today, is the one that ties all of these together. It's the one force that if you fix it, amplifies every other change you make. And it has nothing to do with food. Stay with me because that one changes everything. Force number 3, the sweetener she suppresses the bacteria she needs most. She switched to diet soda to manage her weight. She chose sugar-free sweeteners because she thought 0 calories meant 0 harm. A 2022 study in the journal Cell, conducted with human participants, found that sucralose and saccharin significantly altered gut microbiome composition within just 2 weeks of daily use. Specifically, they reduced the bacteria that produce short-chain fatty acids, the compounds her gut uses to regulate appetite and trigger fat burning. The sweetener she chose to lose weight is suppressing the very bacteria she needs to lose that weight. That's not irony. That's a systemic failure of information. The replacement is something you probably already have in your kitchen. I'll tell you exactly what it is and why it works when we get to the action plan. But first, Force 4 hits different, because this one isn't about food at all. Force number 4, the stress that's poisoning her most critical bacteria. She already knows stress is a problem. What she doesn't know is exactly what cortisol does to one specific species, Akkermansia muciniphila. Think of Akkermansia as the bouncer at the door of your gut. It maintains gut lining integrity, controls inflammation, and regulates insulin response. When cortisol stays elevated from work pressure, emotional stress, overexercising, or chronic worry, Akkermansia populations collapse. And when the bouncer goes down, everything goes wrong. The gut lining thins, inflammation rises, and belly fat becomes nearly impossible to shift. Here's the connection she's never been told. Estrogen protects Akkermansia. So as estrogen declines through perimenopause and menopause, and cortisol rises from daily stress, she gets a double hit on the one bacteria that guards her gut lining. Two forces converging on a single point of failure. And no amount of salad fixes that. There's a 10-minute technique that measurably drops cortisol in a single session. I'll walk you through it. But the fifth force is the one I promised you. The one that connects all of this. Force number 5. The sleep she's losing and the repair cycle it's breaking. This is the one I told you about, the force that connects all the others. A 2019 study found that just 2 nights of disrupted sleep, not chronic deprivation, just 2 nights, measurably changed the gut microbiome of healthy adults. It reduced the bacteria responsible for energy metabolism regulation and increased inflammatory species. For women over 45, this is amplified. Poor sleep spikes cortisol, which we just covered, drops estrogen further, and disrupts the circadian rhythm her gut bacteria depend on, because her gut bacteria have their own internal clock. They're built to work on a schedule. When her sleep is fragmented or inconsistent, their restoration cycle, what researchers call microbial housekeeping, doesn't happen. So now, look at the full picture. Not 5 separate problems, one cascading system failure. Antibiotics thinning her bacterial populations, emulsifiers dissolving the barrier that protects them, sweeteners suppressing the species she needs most, cortisol poisoning her gut's last line of defense, and disrupted sleep breaking the only repair cycle that could fix any of it. Every force compounds the last. That's the conflict, and it's been running in the background of her life for years. And right now, if you're that woman, I know the question forming in your mind. How long does it take to undo this? Here's the honest answer, and it's better than you think. Your gut bacteria can begin to shift within 24 to 48 hours of a dietary change, not months, not years. The microbiome is remarkably adaptive. It responds to what you give it, and it responds quickly. But the key word is begin. Full restoration, rebuilding a diverse, fat-burning microbiome after years of compounding damage, that takes 4 to 8 weeks of consistent habits. And here's the shift I need you to make. Consistency matters infinitely more than perfection. One perfect day surrounded by 6 days of gut-damaging habits won't move the needle. But 5 reasonably good days out of 7, that's enough to see real change in how you feel, how you digest, and how your body manages weight. This isn't about willpower. It never was. Once you understand the system, once you see why your body has been responding this way, the obvious choices become obvious. Not easy, obvious. And that's a completely different thing than being handed another set of rules. Your body was never broken. It was being undermined by forces you couldn't see. Now you can see them. So now you know the 5 forces. And I promised you a step for each one, plus a starting plan. Here it is. 3 moves this week. Nothing more. Move 1. Check your labels. This counters force 1 and force 2. Go through your kitchen. Check 2 labels, your salad dressing and 1 packaged snack you think is healthy. If you see polysorbate 80 or carboxymethylcellulose, find a whole food swap this week. Whole fruits, raw nuts, plain Greek yogurt, 0 emulsifiers, and they actively rebuild the mucus layer your gut depends on. And while you're looking at labels, check your meat. If it doesn't say antibiotic-free or pasture-raised, start swapping in those options 3 to 4 times a week. On the other days, lean toward plant proteins, lentils, chickpeas, edamame. These don't just avoid the damage, they actively feed your gut bacteria. Move 2. Replace one sweetener. This counters force 3. Pick one artificial sweetener you reach for daily and replace it with a small amount of raw honey or just remove it entirely. One swap. That's it. A teaspoon of raw honey contains prebiotic compounds that feed your gut bacteria. A packet of sucralose suppresses them. That's the entire calculation. You don't need to overhaul your pantry. You need to change one thing. Move 3. Lock your sleep rhythm. This counters force 4 and force 5. Set a consistent bedtime, same time tonight and every night this week, including the weekend. Keep your room cool, around 65 to 68 degrees, and stop eating at least 2 to 3 hours before bed. Your gut bacteria need that overnight fasting window for microbial housekeeping, repairing, rebuilding, resetting. And consistent sleep is also the single most effective way to lower cortisol, which means you're protecting your Akkermansia, the bouncer, at the same time. One move. 2 forces neutralized. That's it. 3 moves. When they become automatic, and they will, you layer in the next step, adding 10 minutes of deliberate, breath-focused stress recovery, slow walking, gentle stretching, or box breathing, 4 counts in, hold for 4, out for 4, hold for 4. That's the direct counter to force 4, and it's been shown to reduce cortisol within a single session. Each layer protects the one below it. That's how systems work. That's how your system works. You're not trying to be perfect. You're trying to be consistent enough to give your gut bacteria a fighting chance. And that, right now, this week, is absolutely within reach. If this resonated with you and you haven't watched the video that goes with this one, the gut microbiome diet, that's your next step right now. Because this video showed you what's been working against your gut bacteria. That one shows you exactly how to rebuild them. The 5 strategies that work like nature's Ozempic without the side effects or the price tag. These 2 videos work together. I'll link it right here. And if this helped you today, subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next, and share this with someone you care about, because most women are doing everything right except this. I'll see you in the next one.